Welcome to the Queen Divas, Queens of Fitness podcast. Join your hosts, three-time WBFF world champions and WBFF royalty, Alicia Gowans and Stephanie Ayala McHugh, as we explore all things female health, training, competing, mindset, and living the fitness life every day.
Super excited to be joining everyone today for what is now episode 30, Steph, of the Queen Divas.
Can you believe it, you guys?
Wow.
Woo, 30.
Where did
That's
that
a big
come from
number.
already? Look, in all honesty, if we hadn't had, some of the situations with COVID and illnesses and different things at the time, we'd probably maybe even be up to 50 by now. But hey,
I think so, for sure.
30.
This is just with us being able to match our schedules and being able to hop on from different time zones. Obviously, she's in Australia, I'm in the US. So it is a, obviously like job, obviously when we're trying to like correlate stuff, but we make it work. And we're just glad to have all of you guys listening. It's 30 episodes so far. And I hope if you haven't listened to some in the past, you can, reflect and kind of go back and, catch up to know where we're at the moment, because we're about to let you guys know a little quick update, like kind of where we're at. Allie's, getting glowing and getting bigger, and her breasts are looking like literally like the juiciest things ever. I'm like, God, Allie, like, goodness gracious.
They're ridiculous. I think I said this to Steph in a message the other day. I was like, oh my God, babe, I just had to get maternity bras.
Yes.
And I'm buying them already. Normally I'll probably pick them up in like end of month 7, right? I'm not even quite in month 6 yet, but I've needed to buy them because I'm ridiculously big. Now, I'm a Jersey cow at the best of times when it comes to being pregnant, but this pregnancy is ridiculous. Like, I'm currently in the same size that I wore when my milk was in and I was feeding, because you get bigger again.
Oh my
you get towards the end,
God.
and then when your milk comes in, you swell right up. You probably remember this from watching your sisters do it.
Yes.
You just get super huge, right?
Yes, you do.
So,
you got to feed the baby. You're
you
producing milk.
Massively engorged.
Oh, man.
So I'm wearing the same size. Yeah, it hurts. It's so uncomfortable.
Man.
Like, it's like, oh my God, can I just get a brace for my boobs, for fuck's sake? Like, I almost feel like someone needs to walk around and carry them. Right? But in all honesty, I'm wearing the same size now as I was at full term. And then when milk came in with Calla last time. So I'm scared. I'm like, I don't even know if they make a bra big enough. I know they do. They make some.
Hey, the gains you've had ever since you had her, though, obviously that's going to reflect.
Maybe a little
more
bit.
Strength.
Maybe a little bit, but I just don't know. Like, every pregnancy is different. So this is the cool part, I think, about having multiple pregnancies, is that you have some
like prep,
similarities.
Sounds just like a prep. Like, no prep is different. I mean, they're all different. We all experience, weaning out phase being very different each time, and gaining weight differently each time. Like, I can only imagine.
And even like the baby positioning changes with different pregnancies, where they sit. Like, he's sitting so low that, like, I think I've joked about this. And first I said to Chris, I was like, oh my God, baby. You can't say that.
Come out.
Like,
he's literally going to come out.
It kicks me so hard and so low that I feel like I'm going to have a foot come out. Like, you kind of look down for a minute and you're like, where is he sitting? Like, I feel that right down. Like,
he's coming out.
He's already eager to either
God. You feel like you're
inside.
Dilating already. You feel like
or he's like, I'm already fully in charge. I'm waiting.
TMI, but
moment, and I'm out.
Like, of pregnancy.
Hilarious. So,
well,
I say
your nutrition. I'm just curious, are you eating this abundance amount of food, or like what is your nutrition looking like at the moment?
Look, to be honest with you, I've eaten way more than I'm eating right now in my biggest gains phases, right? So in my biggest growth phase, I've eaten more. But my lifting looks very different in that phase to now, like with big strength blocks and massive load, right? I can push up close to 3,000 calories and not be gaining ridiculously excessive levels of body fat, right? When my output looks a certain way, but it doesn't look like that now. So at the moment,
you're building a life, you're building human inside of you.
Right.
You need that extra energy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not going to go to you just yourself, right? I mean, it's going to be going to him. You know, obviously that's he's taking all that hard.
What was really hard in this last sort of 2 weeks, which is the only reason why our podcast was delayed from last week, was I've been so sick. I had to liquid all of my calories. So I'm still super focused on him. And I said that to Christos. I'm like, I can't negate the basic requirements we need for bub. So however I've got to get it in, we've got to get it in, because I couldn't swallow. I was having trouble breathing. My throat was all sore. So what had happened was, we decided in our nesting moment that we were going to clean up the whole house, you know, get the room ready to start to create the nursery.
You're not the only one. So I think that's like kind of a thing. Spring cleaning here in the US is a thing. So we are all
we did it. Yeah. And you know how we had the flooding here? Well, we obviously had, and I think I sent you guys pictures and you saw the flooding that was coming from the backyard. Our back shed had been inundated with water. So we decided, all right, we're going to clean out that shed. So here I am for 4 hours on a really hot, humid Tuesday afternoon, nearly 2 weeks ago now. We pulled everything out of the shed and it was all moldy and wet and dank and dust and shit everywhere. And I was neck deep in these boxes. And in hindsight, I should have put a freaking mask on, right? I mean, I'm not short of a mask, thanks, COVID. But I didn't even
good for dust, though. It's really good for the dust.
I didn't even think about it. So by the time we finished at about 5 o'clock in the afternoon, by the time dinner came around, I swear to God, my allergies were so bad. I couldn't stop sneezing. I couldn't breathe. I went to bed that night. And, you know, I suffer from really bad allergies usually. Yeah. By that night, I couldn't breathe through my nose. So I was stuck breathing through my mouth. I woke up the next day, lost the voice, throat had razor blades in it. I just honestly thought that was all just because of the nose. That was on Wednesday. By Thursday afternoon, I was in the doctor's going, you got to help me because I can't take anything. You can't take anything for inflammation. You can't, like you're limited to Panadol, which does sweet FA. And you're other than maybe control a temperature, and then you nothing else. I went up to the chemist, and the chemist was like, you can't take cough lollies. You can't take
you can't really do a lot of
can't take anything.
The medication is it's not good for baby.
So I'm like saline solutioning my nose. I thought I was going to turn
it out.
Saline drop. I literally couldn't breathe. It was horrendous. They took one look at me and went, no, you've got a sinus infection. So they put me on these safe for bub antibiotics. And then by the Sunday, I was having these horrendous coughing fits. Go back to the doctors again on Monday and they've gone, no, you got a full-blown chest infection. So I'm out of sneezing, coughing, like, oh my God.
But you know what, Ali, I think this resonates to a lot of the people with all these seasons changing. I think we're in the middle of I think the whole world is changing seasons no matter what direction you're going. We're entering spring. I'm assuming you guys are entering fall here soon and starting to get into like the maybe rainier or cooler weather, better said. As the temperatures drop, I do feel like all of these allergies across the board have just been so crazy. That's actually how I ended up pulling my back. So quick update, I guess, about myself is I, a few weeks ago was, getting ready for a photo shoot. I was going to do some video stuff and I'm just plugging in my curling iron. I had a really busy day and you're not really thinking about it. These allergies are through the roof, right? Like the temperature was rising. And like, I just had the most itchiest freaking like cough, just like kind of what you were saying. It wasn't dry or anything, but it was just like this itchiness, like constantly. So you don't think about like coughing and bending over at the same time, right? Like normally if you do, you would wait, you would do one or the other, not do them simultaneously. And as I'm plugging in my curling iron, y'all, I freaking like coughed ridiculously. It kind of like one of those attacks that you can't stop coughing at, and my back just like literally just popped as I was bent over, and as I couldn't stand up straight again. I just literally just laid on the floor for a quick second and just kind of whined, and I'm like, God help me, like please don't let it be that bad, let me just get up and be okay, and I literally could not even get up, and I was like trying to call for Carrie. I'm like, Carrie,
you might have actually had what I've got now as a result of this horrendous coughing. And you got to remember too, when you're coughing like that, normally you get those intense, it's such a violent expression of the body. Coughing and sneezing, like what the fuck are they? Like you honestly nearly bust
your
something.
rib cage. Yes, right? Your rib cage feels
like, and then when you're pregnant and you have this intra-abdominal pressure, he's already sitting so low, babe. I just feel like I'm going to wet myself all the time. This is the most non-flattering illness period that you could possibly have. But I got this thing now called costochondritis. And it's probably even what you got. It's actually an inflammation of the cartilage that connects your ribs to the sternum. So that's what I had. I have literally been all the way through here on my right side.
Mine's the left, and I relate just in that I'm lopsided, right? Yeah. And so we already deal with like imbalances, our hips are unaligned, right? And you obviously have a broken back, so we have to be even more careful when we're doing movements. So I'm very, very conscious. Like I feel like I'm probably overly safe when it comes down to movements, just because I know myself and kind of how prone I am to have that shift in my hips, right? And get that maybe sciatica pinched, or like, you know, those nerves pinched, or that lower back just completely go out. So I've been humbled. Honestly, these last few weeks have just been a very, very humbling experience, trying to get myself back to training. It's not normal at the moment. I'm actually trying to rehab still. I'm trying to work through, you know, obviously chest supported, back supported, hip stable, you know, exercises. Nothing really at the point where I can go heavy, because obviously I'm gonna just re-injure myself. So it's been very humbling, because I was in a building phase. So I had to actually kind of like change up some of my methods, just kind of like what you were referring to, is this pregnancy, maybe your load wasn't, you know, as much as you normally would have wanted or thought it would be, but you've been able to eat so much more and still be fine, you know? Like in my case, I don't expect myself to just continue eating the same way I was, with the, you know, amount of effort and stimulus I was doing in my training session. I was lifting heavy as fuck, like literally right before my injury, which could also be the reason why I got injured. You know, I kind of like think back, I'm like, what is it that literally caused this injury to be so drastic? Because it put me down for a week, Ellie. I couldn't really walk. Like, I mean, okay, I'm being dramatic. I was able to walk. I wasn't in a wheelchair, but
I know
I couldn't walk. Like I could barely, like it was the most, like it looked like I was like I should be in a wheelchair kind of thing. Like she's just trying, you know, she's trying to get herself from counter to counter, from wall to wall. You know what I mean? I couldn't sit without pain. And with our jobs, Allie, we're in front of the computers, right? Like we're doing video calls and we're seating. I'm literally in pain like the whole time. I'm like, God damn it, I can't even sit, you know, and laying, you can't really sleep right because you're literally getting that sharp pain throughout the night whenever you turn.
Horrible.
So I really feel for anyone that's been dealing with any kind of injury that is excruciating pain like that, or radiating pain down your body, or the nerves are pinched. So anyway, just giving you guys updates. I do kind of understand what you guys are going through, and similarities of what Allie's been saying about her pregnancy, you know, kind of, you know, having to deload a bit and, you know, obviously focus on foods. And that's actually kind of what my body's been undergoing, which I feel is a really good thing prior to me going deep dive into prep, you know, like, so I feel like it's a good blessing in disguise in a way.
Because otherwise it happened now, right?
Exactly. Oh yeah.
Actual prep where deficits make healing. And
so much harder. You know what? That's actually what's helped me. I feel like I've been able to focus on the recovery and have much more attention to it, when before I would have had to get so much more cardio in, eat less, you know what I mean? And I think at this point, it's like, okay, you just needed rest, let your body, you know, get, you know, back into essentially a good state where it's technically okay to train.
You know what I love though? Everyone listening to this really should take home that key point that Steph at her level said was rest. Yeah. She didn't try to push through it. She didn't try to do crazy shit. She was like, wow, all right, I'm going to take a
step
what I
did?
Back.
I went and visited my family. I was like, you know, this is actually the time. I'm like, I know I'm not going to be able to get into the gym as often as I could. We literally just booked a trip, and I was a surprise to my birthday, like my birthday, my brother-in-law's birthday party. So we're like literally just pop in, and I haven't seen him since COVID, you know, like for 2 years. So and it was such a good time. And I don't think I would have been able to enjoy it as much if I would have been so focused on like, I gotta go to the gym and I need to like be eating this amount of food. Cause I like leveled off a little bit for maintenance, just a bit on food. And because I knew I wasn't able to apply my efforts in the gym. But now I'm like slowly getting myself acclimated. I'm able to train a little harder again without it being in heavy weight. It's just more volume. So it's been nice to just this week feeling a little more normal. Hey guys, 22 weeks, well, actually 21 and a half weeks as of this call. When you guys listen to this, we'll probably be at 21 weeks away from Worlds. So that's exciting. So that's kind of my forecast, my update.
My countdown looks a little different. It's like this: 14 weeks on Monday, I have a baby.
I'm so excited. I'm more excited for this. And it sucks, guys, but we know what to expect for Worlds and stuff. And it's so much fun.
True. So
this
true.
Right there, I just cannot wait.
I'm having these really lucid dreams. Like, I don't know if this is just part of this trimester. This pregnancy is so different, but I'm having full-blown dreams. And I had this really random dream. I woke up this morning and said to Chris, holy crap, I think our baby's going to have really blue eyes and your colored skin.
You said dark color.
That was in my dream. Yeah. I'm like, man, he
does with your eyes.
It's all that.
So Chris does with your eyes, essentially, right?
That's what I dreamt. But then at the daytime, I turned around, I hit him, and I went, he's meant to have your eyes. Fuck you. He's like, it was a dream. But it felt so real. So I'm having these random dreams. But I can tell you now, my food in the last 2 weeks has been refocused on, health, optimizing energy levels, and just trying to do what I could to get calories and the basic requirements in for the baby, right? So Chris Voss is so awesome. Sometimes he's so Malaysian, sometimes he's so Greek. And when it comes to like this son, he's so Greek. He turns around, the first thing he does is, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you getting sick? I'm like, oh my God, I'm out the back in moldy boxes, mate. Like,
I totally
and then he turns around and he goes into the kitchen. He's like, right, so I'm going to make chicken and corn soup. I'm going to make, and he's got this next minute, I've got all these,
all the fiber, all the protein, make sure you get all these nutrients. I'm going to blend them, babe. I'm going to make sure you eat this because the baby needs it.
And he's awesome. Like, you need to have more soup. We need to have soup in the afternoon. He goes, because
hey, that's a supportive husband. I am just like, wow.
This is after he gets up me for getting sick. Like, oh my God, that was such a great moment.
But I think anyone listening to this is sick because this is still relatable. And you don't have to be pregnant to be dealing with some of these things that maybe symptoms or like the dry cough or the flu. I have several clients at the moment that actually have the flu. So it's more about trying to get protein in. I think these are actually one of the biggest things when we are sick is prioritizing our intake of protein, getting a good adequate amount and prioritizing that. Then the carbohydrates, then the fats. And that allows you to kind of make sure that even if you're not able to get everything in, you at least got in the right macros for your body to sustain its lean muscle mass. So if you're able,
important, right?
Yes, for sure. So if you're sick, you're down, or you're pregnant, or you're feeling nauseous, or you have obviously any type of issues where your immune system or your, obviously sickness is kind of causing you not to be able to eat normal, like eating soft foods, like Ali was kind of mentioning, soups, higher protein foods as well. It's very, very important. Obviously, coffee, that
it was it was using the bone broth and making sure things in that were going to support me because I had to be on those antibiotics, right? So I just know so many things are going to be affected post that process. So, it's been good though. Like he's still made sure that I'm well fed. The baby's well fed. The baby's still growing. So it's all good. But I can't wait to feel better because, what did lag for me in that time frame was because like you, I'm not stupid. I don't push it. I don't worry about, oh my God, my scale weight, my God. I mean, just let go of that crap. I just literally didn't train. My step
recover, get your fluids back.
Exactly.
If you're having diarrhea, if you're having vomiting, all these things are part of you dehydrating, and you need to hydrate first, focus on hydration and getting in sufficient amount of protein, even if you're like not able to maybe eat it, maybe even getting some shakes in or some like protein mixed with oatmeal, protein mixed with yogurt. That's like just really easy hacks for you to just kind of get in some bland and easy soft food. But then also just like kind of how she mentioned, like the antibiotics are clearly a good, prescription to get the sicknesses out of your virus, the viruses out of your body, but also doubling up your probiotics because your gut microbiome does get affected from the antibiotics. And in Ali's case, she obviously is, eating bountiful amount of foods at the moment. So I think she's going to be okay with getting a lot of those extra probiotics in her food. But if you aren't, and you're maybe like kind of regulated or kind of watching your calories or in a deficit, and you do get sick and you implement antibiotics, I would highly recommend to increase your probiotic intake for sure.
And I think, look, after the last, well, actually it was episode 28. It was the one before the last that we did about the off season. We had an overwhelming level.
Oh man, you guys really hit home with that one. Everyone was like tagging and going crazy and buzzing over it. I'm glad it resonated with a lot of you, because I'm still.
I don't know about you, but I had a lot of clients that then had some pretty big aha moments where they then messaged me and went, you know what? Everything I've been bitching about, forget about it. Like, I'm totally embracing these.
That makes me happy to hear.
And it was awesome. It was awesome. I had several of them do it. It would have been at least a half dozen that had aha moments. And we're like,
the tags and shares and everything was phenomenal. I think out of all the buzzes of, most of our episodes, that was definitely the highest, I guess, like I said, touching home, hitting home.
I think for everyone listening to this that, might have been struggling with sitting in an uncomfortable situation, knowing that, and we've just given that feedback, shows you that you're not alone. This is actually a universally huge challenge for women, right? Like, they really, really struggle with it. And if you are going to be maximizing this opportunity for these gains to work, then, making sure that you are prioritizing not only, maintenance and surplus calories, yes, but still prioritizing perhaps with a little bit more importance, your pre and your post training meals, because they're going to be the things that will give you the best.
Preach it, Allie. There you go. Right? That's actually what we want to talk about on, like, really cover today's podcast, is making sure we are prioritizing that pre and post workout meal, because we do have a window we can optimize to build more muscle, to fuel the session, to feel much better throughout the workout, to, obviously be able to output some of that effort and at the same time recover from that workout, to increase the recovery, speed it up, and also obviously try to increase your MPS, muscle protein synthesis, right? And the ATP that's going to be, processing to build lean muscle. So if we can, prioritize any meals of the day, and in my situation, no matter what time of the year I'm in, I prioritize those 2 meals more than any meal of my whole day. I can push breakfast back if I'm not training first thing in the morning, or I can, obviously if I'm in a fasted state, whatever it may be, that post is probably like my king, like the one I totally will not mess around with protein and the right carbohydrates, is my post-training meal. What about you, Allie?
Yeah, 100%. And I think probably one of the biggest things that I changed in my approach and my strategy over the years. And I had to train my gut to do it, because for me, historically, growing up and going through the sport I did, doing anything on a fed stomach used to make me want to vomit. I would really.
You're so opposite for me, and I think we've had this combo in person.
Yeah, I used to really struggle, and so I couldn't.
This girl tried to take me on faster workouts, like a full-on leg session, and like hit Metcon, and I'm like, girl, I don't need to eat. Like, what are you doing to me?
And now I'm in this place where I have to eat. Like the minute that I wake up now, and I feel so much better in my lifts for it. But it was actually, just the more knowledge that you get, and the further I went with my postgrad studies, the more that I identify with the fact that, having those specifically timed pre-carbs, no fat, but pre-carbs, very minimal protein for me, because that doesn't sit too heavy in my gut, and I therefore don't get that digestive issue. I can actually consume, like for me, it's raisin toast. I'm a raisin toast freak. So I'll smash my raisin toast. I can train within 15, 20 minutes and it doesn't affect me, which is great. I can never do that.
Digest quickly, and you're like able to have enough protein to facilitate the workout, enough carbs to help you fuel. What's your favorite post-training, like kind of meal or go-to?
I guess first things first, so everyone understands why I started to do that pre is because, the first thing that happens and the primary byproduct of training is, and with any sort of training, but in particular anything that's high intensity, is its depletion of your glycogen, which is your carbohydrate stores and your muscle bellies, right? But as you deplete them, the body will then also start to break down the amino acids and your actual muscles. So they will become broken down and damaged. You really don't want to be losing too much of that.
You're doing double negatives. If you just listen to what Ali said, so you're going in already in a state where it doesn't have extra glycogen, right? Like you don't have that extra surplus of carbohydrates. So you go in and break down that muscle fiber, and you are needing more amino acids, more carbohydrates to actually replenish and refuel that muscle being broken down. And it's not there. Again, this is not to say to anyone that's doing fasted training that you're doing something wrong. I actually think it works really well for some individuals, but if you are in a building phase and you want to build more optimally, you having some carbs prior to your session or having some protein and carbs prior to your session, I don't want to say just carbs, is going to really be optimal for your session to be fueled higher. That's all we're trying to say, but for sure.
And then, for me, post training, it's super important then to, again, decrease the amount of that, muscle protein breakdown and increase the muscle protein synthesis by, refueling with a decent dose of protein. And I also like to have carbohydrates. I've moved away from, like back in the day, back when I would do all the fasted stuff, I've moved away from that need to think, oh, well, I must have this during my training. I must absolutely have this immediately after I walk out of the gym. I better have my protein powder and water. No, it's rubbish. We don't have this really small window like we once were led to believe, mainly by, supplement companies, that we had to have this particular type of way right after. It's not necessary.
It's not whey you're needing. It's nutrition. It's a certain amount of protein, right? And like, please listen to how she said an adequate and higher amount of protein post-training, because that's actually going to help you recover and build much quicker.
And you don't have to. Now, I definitely love protein shakes. They are definitely in my, structure, especially they're just convenient. They're super convenient. They're super easy on the run. They're usually, when you're in specific phases, can be, really great at optimizing a lower caloric budget, right? Because you can just have it on water and it's literally just your protein hit and that's it. For me now, I've moved into this space of understanding the process of, optimizing my body for glycogen utilization and then refueling post. And I now opt for a proper full-blown mixed meal. And by mixed meal, I mean not just protein, but I'm having protein, carbohydrates, usually very small amount of fat, because fats will slow down the absorption of the post-workout meal. It's not a bad thing. It doesn't necessarily mean that it reduces, it slows down the digestion. Sorry, it doesn't reduce the total absorption, but it slows down your digestion. So for me personally, I just limit the amount of fat. I don't make it a really high fat meal. I make it predominantly protein with carbs, and usually like a 3-to-1 ratio. So usually
a low fat type of meal. So more on carbs, more on protein. That's exactly what mine reflects like too. And it's really more about, again, and it's not so much a window. I think like what people are,
it's like a garage. I actually have a research paper called The Garage now of Opportunity, because it is like there's actual evidence that shows that it's not in this, because they used to tell us, like, this is going back when I was in high school, they used to tell us that it was like 15 minutes.
I was going to say, I was like, they normally want you to get it right after. But also remember, Ali, that's when, like you said, the supplement companies that just came out, they want you to, obviously get sold on the supplements and, whatnot. But I do believe, and this is just, again, from personal experience and from, training so many people differently from different backgrounds, right? Like, I feel like that 1 hour spent, it's not, I don't want to call it a window, because some people like consider it and take it to heart, right? Like, it really is just more optimal for you to, within your hour to 90 minutes, from 60 to 90 minutes, make sure you refeed your body. Like, why would you continue fasting and keep letting it not restore itself? Even if you just have some amino acids during your session, right? Like just some regular EAAs during the workout, that's helps facilitate, increase your amino acids, to help if you're going to be waiting longer periods of time after your, workout to actually eat. But that's why I prioritize my post-training meal. And that's kind of what we're referring to, is it's not necessarily a window. It's just the fact that the meal is actually full of good nutrients, which is going to be protein, carb filled. And it's okay for it to have some fats. It just doesn't want to be the majority or a third of it. It wants to be literally the lower spectrum of what the other two out of the three are. So as long as you prioritize having a little fuel, if you don't have maybe fasted workouts already and you just kind of wanted to, to have a little concept of what is a good carbohydrate before your session, a complex carb, a slow digesting carb would be ideal. So something that would help you, prolong that energy span throughout the workout and to, not just spread thin the glycogen that's going to be needed for your workout. I think a fast digesting carb sometimes by so quickly. Again, each person's different. So some people do well with the fast absorbing one because their gut does not feel like it's having to digest throughout the workout. But versus someone that has a slower digesting carb, sometimes may feel that energy lasts a little longer. So that does kind of explain. For sure.
Look, the rate within which you're going to have, this muscle breakdown, it varies from individual to individual. It depends upon the intensity,
your effort, your intensity, volume.
It depends upon many things, but basically it doesn't matter who you are, even the most well-trained high-level athlete, they're going to experience an element of this breakdown, right? So, consuming the adequate amount of protein after workout is what gives the body the amino acids that it needs to basically repair, recover, but also to start to replenish and rebuild where it's just done that, which we're trying to do. We're trying to damage the muscle to grow it. Yep. Well, then it starts that process of growing it. So if you're not adequately fueling it, you're just not picking, you're leaving gains on the table. You're not picking up the actual result that you're trying to achieve from that session, right? And so what studies have discussed and, found when it comes to the amounts, they say between 20 and 40 grams post your training session. Now,
my favorite's 30, but then again, I'm going off my ratio and kind of off my, current stats and kind of what I'm used to. And mine's like a good 30, right? Like 30 to 35 is something that I'm used to always being able to get in, but as low as 25, I'm like, okay, I can still make it work, right? But like Ali said, 20 to 40 is ideal for anyone.
And that's working on your range of, like there's a range of what they say in the minimum and maximum protein requirements by the body. So depending upon whether or not, you're sitting up around the 2.2 grams per kilo, then you're going to be at that higher consumption post-training or at the lower. But if you're having a mixed meal, the body can actually consume, you can consume and it can absorb a little bit more of the protein. So when you're having it as not just protein on its own, you could be consuming more than that 40 grams. But the point is that it's absolutely essential to not only pick up the gains you're trying to achieve, but also to basically repair and recover and stop you from breaking down the muscle you already have.
What I was going to say.
Why do you want to do that?
A struggle to lose it. Some clients is like, oh, they'll just skip some carbs, they'll skip a meal, or they'll think that they're speeding up the process because they're eating less carbs, or they're eliminating some meals here and there. You're only slowing it down. All you're doing is making your body trying to, and I hate using the word store, but that's essentially what it does. It slows down and starts storing some of the food because it does not get any more energy that you're going to give it, and it needs more for you to burn more. So some people think by eating less are going to do more, when it's actually opposite. If you're actually giving the body what it needs, it will work more for you. So make sure you're eating that pre and post meal, prioritizing what it doesn't have to be a pre if you already are so used to fasted. I think that's, again, like to each their own. Some individuals like are in a phase where maybe their job or, obviously like they just are on the go, and it's just more ideal for them to just kind of not have meals. Understand, you're fine, but prioritize that post-training meal. It's one of those things that's going to really help you get some results.
I don't know about you, but the amount of pushback I get about carbs, it's just ridiculous. It's relentless.
It's like stupid.
Women have a hang up about carbs, about eating bread and all sorts of
Next time we're going to have to talk about this, like the whole topic.
We need a whole episode about
me
this.
Off. It pisses me off.
Let me say this, right? If it's recommended that within training, you should be having 1.1 to 1.5 grams per kilo of body weight in carbs to actually properly restore your glycogen and to properly, start the glycogen resynthesis process. Like, add that up. That's like, say if we work to a 3-to-1 ratio. So I'm consuming my 40 grams of protein. I'm going to go 3-to-1. That's 120 grams of carbs. Yep. There's going to be bitches listening to this going, what? 120 grams of carbs in one meal. I don't even have that for my whole day.
Like, I was going to say, like, you're talking about tools for somebody in the whole day.
I'm serious. Like there are ladies that freak out by eating 100 grams of carbs. And I'm like, you really need to start to build a better relationship with this particular food group, which shouldn't be demonized, because it shouldn't.
No, it should not.
It's actually
my favorite. It's my favorite. Sorry, y'all. I'm Latina, but my favorite freaking macro is carbs. So I come from history.
So let me say this though, like say we're not training one day, Steph, then is it required for us to have 120 grams in a meal? No, it's not, because we're not doing a training session. So then, you adequately space your, carbs throughout the course of your day. Would you need all of the same amount of carbs if you're sitting in a maintenance surplus for growth? Probably not. You can bring those down a fraction maybe on your non-training days. Having said that though, I think having just a good consistent amount rather than, robbing from Peter to pay Paul means that you're going to keep your NEAT higher, because as you've got more energy, you naturally move more. So
hey guys, whenever you actually eat more protein, just understand you're more in a thermogenic state. So protein's actually raising your thermogenesis naturally. So if you actually have more protein and you eat carbohydrates, why were you scared if you're having a good amount of protein? It's when we do not hit our protein amounts that are adequate for even our body weight. That's when you're really in a bad situation. If you're eating only, let's say less than a gram, obviously a gram per, obviously pound, you are in a place where you are probably really going to be catabolizing your body, right? So it's more about trying to just first get adequate amount of protein in. If you're not getting that in and prioritizing it around that workout window, you're going to build muscle better. You're going to recover the muscle better. But at the same time, the carbohydrates are really the key major role here. Like carbs are such a key component for us, not just to build, but to recover. And here how we're saying recover is not like the only thing that we're focused on all the time. We're just thinking build, chip away or add on and stack on. We never think of the other process. It's this circle, guys. It has to continue going in a nice little, obviously little momentum, whether if it's from build, to cut, but also recover. It all follows the same principles. So you have to really, really focus on those two things, applying the effort during building as well as recovering.
And if you have a fear of, consuming carbs, and I think you're wanting to increase them, this is the best way to approach it, is to actually put them and position them where you're going to be utilizing them really effectively, right? So, look, the window of time is not about 15, 20 minutes. It's much longer. You've got a couple of hours that sort of ideally you want to be consuming it probably within 60 to 90 minutes at the most. If you delay the carb consumption by as little as 2 hours after workout, you actually reduce your glycogen synthesis process by 50%. So it's like, it's pretty big. Like you just want to be hitting a really, really solid protein carb meal. Now, if you are waiting, because like for me, I don't necessarily feel super hungry immediately after. I usually eat my meal within like 45 minutes or so.
That's Carrie. Right? I'm like, okay, I'm the person, like the monster coming in through the hangry, through the kitchen and like looking for the food, heating it up. Don't talk to me until I eat, okay, kind of mood. And then Carrie's like, I'm like, can I heat you something? And this is literally my mood. Can I heat you something up? Or can I cook you something? It's like such in a bad mood. And it's like, no, I'm not hungry. And then it like pisses me off. Then I'm like, how the fuck are you not hungry? Like, I swear, I get in such a bad mood. I'm like, okay, fine, I'll eat by my fucking self. I swear. That's angry, Stephanie. And I like literally finally eat. I'm like, oh, babe, when are you hungry? Like, do you want me to eat now? Like,
I'm a totally different woman.
Yeah, a completely different woman, a completely different person. And it's like usually about 45 minutes after I eat. So, and I like, again, I come scavenger like mode to the kitchen to eat.
I'm like 45 minutes.
Starving. And he's usually about 45 minutes, sometimes even an hour. He's just like, oh, I'm hungry now. I'm like, well, you can heat up your food because I already cooked. I already like cleaned and everything. You could go ahead and just heat up your food.
You gotta fix yourself.
I'm like, I'm done. That's true. It's just my post-training, guys, I take it seriously. That meal is like my sacred Bible meal. Like I will not miss it. I will not skip it. I will do anything and do.
I have a lot more respect for it now, and how I approach it, and not making it some just liquid on the rum thing.
Right, just only protein. I think so many people do that. Yeah,
100%.
And look, guys, protein powders are not bad. Like especially if you're on the go. Like if you need to get something in. It's actually better for you to do that than just wait 4 hours to eat a meal. Okay.
Definitely. So, and hey, this is also, you made a valid point. If you know you're running and you're caught out or whatever, the kids are driving you nuts, you can't get to the kitchen, like whatever it is, if you at least always have a protein shake on, I always have something like that in a container or whatever in my handbag, because the one thing you don't want to miss throughout the course of a day on any given day is those boluses of protein, right? Yes. So it will be the thing that prevents you from, having massive hangry moments or jumping into foods you wouldn't normally consume just because all of a sudden, you're ravenous. It's going to keep you on an even keel. So I always think have those. And as I said, when definitely at different times of my prep, I utilize them a lot more than others. But I'm a big believer now in having a quality pre-workout meal and having an really robust.
Welcome to the side of like the eating carbs before your workout, Allie, because I'm telling you,
right?
She murdered my ass trying to. How are you going to eat before this Metcon? She said. I was like, because I need carbs. I'm like, I need
don't get me wrong.
Survive.
I will still have like 2 train low days, what we call train low days, so no food and or just in the absence of carbohydrates. I'll still have
I will enjoy those. You enjoy those once in a while, like kind of like once in a while when I did it with you. Well, it's not so bad. I guess it's not because I don't do it often, right? Like, although you did try murdering me, but okay, who does 7 minutes straight of burpees? Like, I just do not understand that. Like, I still do not understand who will do 7 minutes straight of just burpees. Like, God. Anyway, so off topic, but what I do want everyone to kind of take home with this is protein shakes aren't the enemy. You could have a protein shake, but stack it with some carbohydrates. So if you are on the go, don't just get the protein shake in.
Protein shake piece of fruit.
Just exactly, that's what I was gonna say. My on the go is just fruit and a protein shake because I know I'm getting the carbohydrates from the fruit and then I'm getting some good amount of protein.
You want to know another hack, which is really great, is a chocolate milk. Grab yourself chocolate milk.
Yeah, you have fats. You've got some good, carbohydrates in there, and it tastes like just like you said, just like chocolate milk. So it is. And if you're lactose intolerant, obviously you're not able to do that. Coconut milk, fantastic. It has good carbohydrates. It doesn't have fats as much, but it does have enough. So it is going to help you, like we were saying, a lower fat, higher carb, higher protein meal post training, pre training. Doing something with a slower digesting carb, I promise will help a lot. If you're someone that doesn't do well with slower digesting carbs, have a fast digesting carb because it still will help along with some protein for sure.
And then like if I'm caught out, I might pick up like a protein bar or something if I'm really stuck. But for me, I much prefer to have, like a proper sit down meal. Depending upon, if I'm pregnant and have weird food aversions or not, it ranges, baby. And depending upon the time of day that I'm training, it will range. I might be having eggs and toast with vegetables. I might be like some sort of scramble or omelet. I might be having, I might be having like a slow roasted or, sous vide based piece of protein, whether it's chicken or steak or something, then with, roast vegetables, nutritional yeast.
That's like all gourmet. Like you can tell you got a chef at your house because that's like all gourmet stuff. But let me tell you, my like quick little maybe delight that I get that everybody that doesn't know how to cook can make real quick is like literally like just Chex plain cereal. Like if you can get plain Cheerios, plain Chex rice mix, right? Or like actual cereal that isn't added. Yeah, like you don't have all the added sugars because guess what? You're going to just mix your protein shake with some of that almond milk and literally pour it into your cereal. And you've got like this chocolatey or whatever flavored, protein you have type of cereal mix. And I mean, you're eating it like a kid and it's like freaking crunchy and it's good. And you're like, you feel awesome. I don't know if no one's tried that. You definitely need to be doing
also a really great how I started to introduce
oat bran, like oat bran or wheat, wheat Cheerios. So if you're trying to slowly, because it's easy on the gut, you guys, it absorbs a little easier. That's why it's obviously something that's made for breakfast, for those, even kids and stuff. Just make sure it doesn't have that high sugar. Okay. Just look at the, nutrition facts, look for the lowest sugar because you're going to be adding through the flavor of your protein, along almond milk. So it's just a little quick hack. Those are actually some of the ones that post training, if I really don't have something cooked or ready to go for me to heat, and I'm like hangry walking in, I'm like having some checks and along with some protein cereal. Yeah.
Something as simple as literally a protein shake with a banana. It's like,
oh, so simple, but so good.
So easy.
Or just blend it. If you have the ability, you know, of course, of having the blender, although I know it adds an extra step, extra cleaning, but if you do have a blender, you have the time, adding some fruit in with, you know, obviously like a protein powder is easy. You don't have to go this route where I know we're talking about protein powders a lot, but Allie like mentioned all these gourmet foods like chicken and beef or salmon.
Because that's what I would eat. I'm like,
I do too. I just don't have it, I think, as much as you do at the extent. Mine's like bulk food, okay? I cook all my shit in bulk. I'm like, okay, this is the chicken I'm eating. These are the beefs or turkeys I'm eating. And these are the vegetables I'm prepping. And I will do vegetables, I think, every like couple days, just because you know how veggies are. They don't really taste good after like that 3 day.
You know what? Another thing I love getting like the soy linseed Bergen bread. It's freaking amazing. Toasting some of that with peanut butter and banana cut all over it. Oh my God.
That's so good, you guys. But that also does require some good amount of carbs. So just know, like, carbs aren't bad. They're not the enemy. Just but trying to nutrient time them at the right timing. Okay. Understand that that is not a window. We're just trying to explain that this is more optimal for you to utilize these nutrients to fuel your session and recover your muscles to actually help build and grow and also lean out, because some people that really space out their macros very differently. I'm seeing this so much amongst clients that are competing at the moment, you know, getting ready for shows, is that they're really not optimizing what we're talking about, that pre and post workout. Even if we assign them, they think they're moving stuff around, making themselves spread their carbs better.
The mistake they make is they save quite a
big amount
macros for like something that's stupid, you know.
That's what I'm getting at. It's not good food that is actually going to be nutritious. It's going to be empty calories. They're not going to have any fiber. It's going to be something that's really going to just give you a good satisfaction for that, like 5-minute mark. And then after that, it's like, I'm hungry. Oh my God, I'm starving, you know? So it's because you didn't end up actually giving yourself some nutrients, like, right? Like your digestion is going to just literally start getting a little wonky too, whenever we're having all these extra stuff as we lean out, because we're more responsive to these bloating feelings, this inflammation as we get leaner. When we definitely move carbs around for not the right ones,
saving it for some big chocolate dump, then they're foregoing fiber and they're foregoing the micronutrients they need and everything else, and then you lose satiation. Like it's you really need to be thinking about exactly that. Like if you've only got 100 grams of carbs to play with in the final weeks, then
pre and post first, priorities,
and then have the rest of the meals be mainly protein and low cal veg. Like that's the easiest way to approach it. But I definitely think, you know, consider the fact that if you're not already having something pre-workout, try to, even if you're training first thing in the morning, because that's what I was doing. And like I said, I started out just adopting a cereal approach because it was light and easy. And now I'm obviously progressing. Now I can have a lot more. Like I can actually have quite a decent stomach full of food and not feel sick anymore. And I think 100% prioritize what you have post, because it's going to be the key to giving you the results you want, whether it's muscle preservation in a deficit or whether it's muscle growing in a growth, you know, phase or growth.
It works both ways. Like we're talking about this for any person that's undergoing any phase. And like Ali actually kind of mentioned, just like really making sure you prioritize, you know, getting in something you can, because I think what you had just said, like you build up that appetite, right? Like I think we train and we teach our metabolism and our gut, you know, to be able to absorb and actually have whatever, you know, we're, you know, teaching it to, you know, gradually build up to. And if you just start as simple as maybe cereal or maybe just a protein shake, right? Like even a protein shake before your session, because you're not able to maybe get in food, you know, or a yogurt with some good protein amount, right? Like that's super easy. Digestible.
One valid point you just made me think of it just then randomly, is that, you know, when it comes to protein too, and you're looking at making this optimized, you want to look at the leucine content. So just choosing
that levels off that ghrelin,
because you want leucine to be, you know, quite high. So I think when you are looking at options, when it comes to what you could be consuming, just think about that, because it's your leucine level that actually matters most.
And you guys, leucine is one of the most main building blocks of the amino acids of protein. So if you haven't really done your research on leucine, look it up, start getting some, good information on it, because it is one of the most important ones. I cannot stress on it, because that's one of the ones I'm like, when I'm doing fasted or cardio or anything, that's the first thing I've prioritized, is like, if I'm already in a catabolic state, I'm like in a deficit, and I'm like trying to, like you said, preserve my muscle, I'm trying to, put that leucine higher straight up first thing in the morning, which is why I normally get in a good amount of EAAs. It doesn't always have to just be through a protein powder. I think people get that conception too, right? Like, it's just like you said, look for leucine. Right. So that'll help you a lot if you are doing fasted training. If you're not, if you have a couple meals already before, like maybe you work out mid or late morning or midday or even in the evening, these aren't probably your struggles, like kind of things we're talking about. But I do think this is the majority of people. Most people do train first thing in the morning, and fasted, again, it's not the problem. Again, you're just needing to facilitate more energy, and you feel kind of like, maybe, man, I'm not hitting those PRs in the gym, and I'm trying so hard. I'm eating all the meals, I'm like progressing slightly, but not enough. And if you're doing fasted training, please just change that up, and you're going to notice a big spike in, your weights go up, your strength. So that does help those that train first. But if you do have digestive issues like IBS, IBD, you clearly have some bad, gut issues to where you're not able to ingest food, just get in some light protein, like we were talking about, like just some quick, fast absorbing carbs. You don't need that slower digesting one, but make sure you prioritize the post. I think, again, the key here that we are making sure you guys all listen to is the fact that post-training meal with protein and carbohydrates is the most optimal for you to restore, replenish, build, cut, maintain. Does not matter what phase you are going through. That is what you should really make sure of, is really pinpointed in your whole day.
So it is important to not go longer than,
a couple hours. No,
that's max, right?
That's it.
You want to be having some form of snack or meal, prioritizing protein and carbohydrates, because they're absolutely essential after exercise. They stimulate muscle protein synthesis, improve recovery, and enhance performance. So that's our take-home tips for today.
Eat your protein, you guys. Make sure you eat your protein, and don't be scared of carbs.
Exactly. So I was just going to say, for everyone listening to this, which we know, from the response we got from 2 episodes ago, there's a high number of you, which fucking all the power to you, women. I love seeing it.
I love it.
If you are in a growth phase, listen to some of the stuff we talked about with where to stack some of the timing of these things to really maximize your sessions, right?
But if you're trying to preserve that muscle too, you're leaning out, you're going into a show, you're starting that process, prioritize the things that we're referring to, nutrient timing, obviously getting your recovery, focusing on, your sleep, and, making sure you are eating things you like. Because again, I think I've mentioned this before, but if you're like force feeding yourself to eat things you don't like, you're not going to sustain this, and you're really going to just stop whatever journey or, deadline you get to, and you're just going to, fall off. So just continue creating a routine that you can truly follow and adhere to, and it's enjoyable. Not everything's enjoyable, because I'm not going to tell you that every session of mine is like, oh my God, I'm like so thrilled to do, but it is something I know is required, and that's what gets me. I just know I need to do it, and I have the fuel to do it. So, and when you don't, you got other things to rely on. Oh my God, when you don't have the fuel, you got to keep pushing, and knowing that the actual reward is going to be knowing you push so hard, even when there was no gas in the tank, when you get to that time.
I'm just sitting listening to you talk about all this, and I'm thinking about the fact that I will be stepping into my first cut phase in a very long time. And my only thoughts are, I'm going to enjoy every bit of bread, carb, and food that I get between now and
you need it.
Because I'm going to really, really feel the pinch of a cut when I start. We will have lots of discussions about this. I have no doubt.
We're going to just change 360 mindset from where you see us now. Right now, Allie and I are in a surplus. She's in a surplus for a baby. I'm in a surplus for muscle. So we're trying to obviously come down. She's coming a little, down after 14 weeks. I'm coming down the slope here the next few weeks. I will be starting that descend a little sooner than her. So I think you guys are going to start probably seeing my headspace and how things start really changing, and obviously my face and my physique. I think one of the most noticeable things that you notice is, I feel so freaking like inflamed. I'm like, God, I feel like these
I have a moon for a face when I'm in my off season. Look at that. Like, I don't know where my cheek and my chin begins.
It is with Thea's just putting our faces on the screen right now. I mean, literally, we feel like little balloons. But hey, don't worry. We're going to be going through the process with you.
You know what's good about that is that I have amazing cheeks come stage.
You have amazing skin.
I don't look like a skeleton.
Has this skin that just glows right
because
now.
I have a moon for a face when I'm not. Our kids got no hope because Christos has that Malaysian little bit of round face, and I have
the skin though, like y'all skin is like little babies' butts. I swear, like y'all literally have the most glowing skin, even him as a male, which is very impressive. So, but you guys, thank you for so much for listening and obviously following our journeys and keeping up with us, and obviously being interested in what we're up to, and kind of our experiences with ourselves. Our so many clients that we work with across the globe. So we really do appreciate the support, and I hope these takeaways for you guys are helpful, and keep giving us suggestions and requests that y'all want to
really enjoy sharing with you all about different things we've learned, the right way, the wrong way, the hard way.
Fucked up a lot. So.
Even listening to this and knowing, that I have completely changed my entire protocol for how I approach timings of things. And
it makes me so happy because I thought you were a weirdo. I'm kidding. Okay. but no, again, everyone that's listening to that does fast it. It's nothing against what you've been doing. It's just maybe open your eyes, like Ali has maybe done a little bit over the course of, her years, like knowing that the research is actually valid, and she now implements that research and does and learns it on her own, because we all have to go through it ourselves. I feel like no matter what research paper we read or what, study came out, we maybe believe it, but it's kind of like a myth until you actually see it for yourself and you actually go through that experience. So give it a try, let us know how you go, and just keep on tagging, sharing, and letting us know, of course, some feedback from each episode.
We'd love to see you tag us in your favorite post-workout meal. Share it on your story.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea.
If you've got recipes and you want to share reels of that, let us know, because we'll share it across ours as well.
Yeah, totally. Thank you guys for listening. And until next time, see you later, Ali.
See you later.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Queen Divas, Queens of Fitness podcast. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at Queen Divas Pod, on Twitter at Queen Divas 4, and follow our hosts on Instagram, Alicia at Alicia Gowans _WBFF Pro, and Steph at Stephanie Ayala 7. See you all next week.